Hello, everybody. Well, okay. I think I got the right microphone on. Had a little trouble with the mic again. Everything is, oh well. Anyway, welcome everybody to Saturday live stream. We are had to get hooked up with Facebook, and so I'm streaming there too. So I just want to welcome everybody, and it's nice to be able to stream to Facebook. I can't do live streams on Facebook anymore because something's wrong with the system, and they sort of not like. I don't think they really like me there too much. I don't know why. I don't do anything wrong. Okay, Christ speaker, hello. We're going to get started today on the book of Daniel. Glad you all joined. I'm using my headset today because my other mic, I need to do some adjusting with the sound. To try to get a clean sound. I might have to get another microphone and run it off my soundboard to get a crisp, clean sound all the way around, and no matter what device you listen to. If I use my boom mic, which is a digital mic, some systems sound like I'm in a tin can. Others, it comes out okay. But if I use this digital mic, it doesn't matter what operating system you have, it works. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and get started with the book of Daniel while people are joining in. I know people will be coming in as we go along. So let me go ahead and look for the scriptures that I wrote out on Daniel chapter 7 so I don't have to pick up a Bible all the time. I had a comment by one of the listeners about, why don't you put the scriptures on screen? I'll just tell you, my processing unit in my computer doesn't have the oomph power to run an OBS or whatever. I'm currently trying to figure out how to get OBS to work on a lower bandwidth so it doesn't spool and sputter and stop and crash. And I have high-speed internet, but the problem is that I need an encoder that won't take all the memory. Most of the modern encoders are made for gaming streaming, which require a lot of CPU power. Mine is basic computer. I don't have that. And it works when I do just a straight live stream. Sometimes the system or whatever may drop, but that's due to my service provider. And also, I hope this doesn't get me in trouble on YouTube, but Sheila Zielinski posted a link. She says yesterday, and she said, expect your iPads, phones, and computers to act glitchy. And well, I noticed that, and my wife's noticed that for about a week now. Our phones are acting glitchy. I mean, I could hardly get on the internet yesterday, even offline. Couldn't even do that. It was glitchy. You hit a button, things appear that you don't hit. Things are really weird. Computer systems are starting to act up too. I do not know why this is. I have a suspect they're trying to set up, at least in our area, maybe your area, the 5G network. That could be running through system and interfering with the signals. So I just want to forewarn you all that our your iPads, your Androids, your phones, your iPhones, your computers may act glitchy online when you are doing a live stream or doing anything. We need to expect that for a time being. Not sure all the details of why that is, but it's happening. So I'll let folks know that. Anyway, we're going to go ahead into the book of Daniel. As more people are coming on, I'm just going to jump right in. We're continuing where we left off. If you missed last week's lesson, go ahead, look up on my YouTube channel, and you will hear some more on Daniel chapter 7. I only got to verse 12. And I'm not going to I'm going to review some of it for you, but you'll have to go back to get the full gamut. For those of you who are joining me for the first time, I do explore the book of Daniel in a traditional sense that a lot of other people do because the scholars already did this work for you. But mostly I look at name meanings, number meanings, and how they are used in the text. And by learning how to use the Hebrew actual Bible number system, not the Kabbalah, not the Pythagorean system, and not the Chaldean system, the occult systems, but how God uses numbers are assigned a pictograph meaning, and that's their root meaning, and then they have a meaning like we have a word in a dictionary. Depending if it's a pronoun, adverb, whatever, it changes and refines the meaning further according to the context of the sentence, just like our own language. It's like reading a foreign language. Once you catch on, what you find in the Bible, and I told people this, is God's commentary on the scriptures that line up with the scriptures. Sometimes I can tell in the very first chapter if there's numbers, very first few verses, if there are numbers in there, I can find out exactly the entire context of the entire chapter in the first few verses, if there's numbers listed, or where it's going to be heading in the next chapter. I found this consistent throughout the Bible. So I will say God uses numbers. He's more highly intelligent than the academics and Bible scholars think. And I wouldn't discount numbers. I will discount numbers and stand with a lot of people with their arguments, because people go number happy and go stupid with it. Think they can find secret codes and secret wisdom and how to win the Powerball tickets. And if I look at my birth date, that tells you who I am and all that stuff. That's Chaldean occultic garbage. You stay away from it. You try that with the Bible stuff. The bottom of your world will fall out. I'm telling you, there is a consequence to misuse Bible numbers. I'll talk more on Bible numbers in another lesson. But right now, I'm going through here. We're going to be talking about some numbers in a different light. I want to show you some things. With that, I also go through the meaning of names. So we're going to be looking at some of these things too. Okay? In Daniel chapter 7, verse 13, and I'm going to read 13 and 14 out of New King James, and then I'm going to go ahead and give an overview of what we studied so far. It's just a real brief synopsis, so you get an idea of where Daniel chapter 7 here, verses 15 to the end of the chapter, is talking about the Antichrist, talking about the end times, talking about the interpretation of Daniel's dream. So, let me just state this. The title of this message is God is a God of Prophecy. And you know what? Prophecy has gotten a bad rap these days. Why? Well, there's false claims made by those claiming to be something they're not. You got a lot of people claiming, like in 1988, 88 reasons why Jesus will come back in 1988. They set dates, they set times. It's a power trip. You can tell that people are power tripping when they do this. It's all about them, their thing. It's nothing. So Bible prophecy has got a bad rap. Also, through some of my videos, I talked about the infiltration into the churches and how to dumb down the church through this infiltration to get people off of studying prophecy, because they don't want you to know the God of the Bible, because God proves himself through prophecy, proves his existence. So they come up with all kinds of excuses. So you have those false claims made by people who are not, and there's an article in Charisma magazine that came out, or was it a couple weeks ago? I can't remember. Couldn't find the article to write it down. Now I got to look for it. But it was by it was by Pew Research, and they polled 58% of Americans believe that there are no moral absolutes. There are no morals. A moral is whatever you want it to be. And it's about an equal number that, or maybe a little less or a little more. I can't remember exactly. But the article said that was the same philosophy inside the church. Just want to put that on the back burner. In other words, God doesn't have any standards. Standards of right and wrong are whatever you want to determine them to be. So a lot of Christians think that way. They think just like the world. Okay? Well, Daniel was a prophet, and he addresses issues like that in a climate where there are morality is dropping, and a mixing of things into the church or the God's people that shouldn't be there. And God raises up prophets, and Daniel was such a prophet. Okay, so what is a prophet? How do you tell a true prophet from a false prophet? Because a lot of false prophets give false prophecies, gives prophecy a bad rap. Well, a true prophet of God, I'll tell you what they do from a Bible perspective. I'm not going to give you 1,000 scriptures. You can look this up yourself and just test me on this. You'll have to be a good Berean and check me out. Prophets appear to warn of coming danger due to turning away from God. That's a mark of a true prophet of God. They confront the power brokers controlled by the Ephesians 6 crowd, by the principalities, powers, rulers of darkness, and the host of wickedness in heavenly place that control the world system. They confront. Moses confronted Pharaoh. Elijah confronted Ahab and Jezebel and all the priests and prophetess of Azarah and Baal, or Baal. They confront the power brokers. They lay down a gauntlet. They're not cowards. They're human beings, and they get tired like Elijah did sometime and run in a cave and want to check out for a while because of the stress. And a lot of times prophets feel like they are alone. But that's what they do. They confront the power brokers in a dynamic way. They also can perform it's not okay. Let me go back. Yeah, Moses, Elijah. They also interceded on the behalf of God's people. Prophets, Isaiah, Ezekiel, the minor prophets, all interceded on the behalf of God's people, like standing in the gap. Look, Lord, give them another chance. What will the world say about you if you strike all your believers down now? You know. Aren't you able to perform your own word like Moses stood before the Lord? That's an idea of a prophet. They're heavy duty into intercession and prayer. They speak, a true prophet speaks God's words. They don't speak out of line. They speak out of God's word. They never speak their own words. They never say, I decree, I declare this will happen. They say, thus says the Lord, because the Lord told them to say it. And they are very faithful because they spend a lot of time in intercession and prayer, knowing the Lord and Him knowing them, and they're broken people. That's what a true prophet of God is. They have been crushed and broken by God so that they can bear the message faithfully. They have a humility about them. They will never stand up and thump their chest and say, I decree and I declare that money will rain out of heaven because my words have power. You're a human being. Your words, only power your words or our words have, is to tear another person down, ruin their life, demean them, demoralize them, so forth, etc. So life and death is in the power of the tongue in that sense, that if I raised a kid and told him he was worthless, no good, no account, or abandoned and rejected him all the time and made fun of him all the time, that will put death in a person's life like it has many of us. So Jesus came to heal the broken heart, to take care of that. And so another idea of a prophet is they come to restore and bring healing, God's healing touch back into the land. A true prophet of God endures persecution. They are not very well accepted by the world. A lot of times they are not accepted in the church. They're not browbeater, nitpickers. They're not at all. They're very humble people. If you have somebody on a power trip who claims to be a prophet, who wants to take his 1,000-pound Schofield Bible and smack everybody upside the head, I don't think they are a true prophet. They have no humility, no compassion in them. And they don't probably spend any time interceding for God on the behalf, but saying these people are sinners, they need mercy. And so these people's prayers are probably, let's fry them, make them toast. Another thing that a true prophet of God is instruct of God's ways and word, and they must be 100% accurate. A true prophet of God has to be 100% accurate, or they face the death penalty. Back then in the day in ancient Israel, they were stoned to death. In modern terms, people who claim to be a prophet, suddenly their life ends without remedy. So you had, I know I'm going to get in trouble, but you have a man who's buried under a Masonic pyramid, probably Rosicrucian pyramid of power with an eagle on top, which is the sun god Anton, and basically the one that's going to herald a message to bring the end time Messiah into the world. In other words, the false Christ, or you can say the Antichrist, through what Alice Bailey talked about, infiltration through the Masonic Lodge. So you have a man buried under this pyramid of power with an eagle on top, and who was a great healer and signs and wonders, miracles. No one can deny that. He taught some good things, but any donkey, God can make any donkey say something good. However, the man said you can be a Christian and a Mason. Masons are all right. He got his last day's message in the Masonic Lodge, where he held a lot of his meetings were in the Masonic Lodge. Come on. You can't hold a meeting in the Masonic Lodge without being a member of the Masons. So this man's name was William Branham. And in, I think, 1962 or 63, he died in a car wreck. He claimed to be a prophet. God takes him out. History proves it. Alexander Dowie, the same way. I mean, I used to consider these people great generals of the faith, not anymore, when I researched them and found out what they actually believed, what they actually said, and actually checked their things, and I'm not afraid to tell you their names. You may not like it, but the proof's in the pudding, as they say. If you're not 100% accurate, a modern prophet will be taken out by God's hands. So if you want to be a prophet, think you're a prophet, think again. Well, Daniel had a prophetic dream of unbelievable accuracy. And a true prophet of God, dreams and visions have unbelievable accuracy. And concerning the book of Daniel, liberal scholars cannot handle the book of Daniel at all. So they say, these things were added later. Nobody can foretell the future. We are smarter than God. I don't know why they have liberal scholars. They shouldn't even be in the church anyway. But that's part of the infiltration brought on through the occult world to infiltrate the seminaries and disseminate liberal ideas into them to weaken and demoralize God's people, which is happening. We're bearing the fruit of it. But the book of Daniel proves itself true because God proves himself true in Bible prophecy. Undeniable. Everything lines up. All the dots connect. It's undeniable. The symbolism is there. You dig up in archaeology, you can find the documents that substantiate what the book of Daniel is talking about. So the book of Daniel is a legitimate book. It was written way before. It was written in Nebuchadnezzar's day. Okay, and faithfully copied over and over again. People don't like that. Liberal scholars say, well, we can't copy anything. Well, you don't understand ancient Eastern thought and passing on of information and how to be 100% accurate, because those people passed it on, okay? But anyway, let's just continue here. So let's get back to the Daniel chapter 7. Let's review this. And in other words, in order to grasp the book of Revelation, what the book of Revelation is even talking about, you must explore the book of Daniel. And Daniel, let's review real quickly right now. I'm going to go through this review. Daniel was removed by force and taken to Babylon and made a eunuch along with 3 of his friends. And the entire nation of Israel, or the nation of Judah, was taken out of the land. Like God says, if you forsake me, I'll forsake you. I'll bring an enemy in your camp and you'll be separated and put in another country 2 times. And you'll never be removed. After the second time, you'll come back to your land. So, okay, let me go back, and I think it's Deuteronomy chapters 26 through 30 something talks about this. I think 28, blessings and curses. If you forsake the living God, you're going to be cast into a foreign land. This event will happen twice. You're going to be cast in the foreign land and you will return. And this is what the book of Daniel comes into in the first, removing into a foreign land by falling away from God. And then you have the second time that will happen. That was fulfilled in 70 AD. The third time, it's not going to happen. They're not going to be, the Jewish people will not be scattered outside of their land. Instead, a time of dividing is prophesied. That means sheep from goats type of thing. It's a time of dividing where if time is not cut short, none of the elect could stand, so to speak. It's a time of dividing to see which side you're on. If the days were not shortened, the elect couldn't even be saved, but God has to shorten those days. God's people in Israel, the Jewish people, the covenant people, will not be removed from the nation of Israel again but a time of separation. Who will follow God and who won't will happen in Israel, called a time of dividing. Some people don't know that, but let's throw that out there because we'll be talking about this in a minute. So all this was due to the nation of Judah forsaking God. And like I said, I go back to that Pew Research poll was taken. 58% of the country believe moral truth is whatever you want it to be. There's no moral absolutes, and this includes professing Christians. And we are reaping the whirlwind because of it. We have dropped the ball. We turned it over to the government. We mixed paganism into the church. We have prophets who prophesy on a dime. And out of another article I read, it was out of a Charisma magazine, I think it was. And this Charisma magazine wrote what a prophet does. And a prophet does everything that they said a prophet does not match what the Bible says. Basically, what they say, prophets only tell you good news. They never say anything bad, and they always are building you up. So God wants everybody to be prophets so they can build each other up. And, well, there's edification in prophecy because prophets do, you prophesy, you do teach the word of God, and you teach how to stay true to God and all that. That's fine. I don't have a problem with that. But they're saying in this article that you never say anything wrong. You never address any issues. You just be a good old boy and you look at somebody. And I want to just tell you the truth. I was in a church as a new Christian, and I left the church that I was at because I went to a dynamic, fast-growing church, and the minister left there to go to another city in Colorado, and a new pastor came in, and from a great dynamic church, full gospel church, it turned into a cult, a Christian cult, and I did not know any better. I got sucked up into that thing, and I came in conflict with them because I was studying Greek and Hebrew at the time, and what I found wasn't lining up with what the pastor was teaching. It was the middle of the shepherding, or the last days of the shepherding discipleship movement, a hellish movement you should stay away from. Run from anything about shepherding discipleship. Where you need a covering, a man covering, and if you rock the boat, then they get their prayer intercessors or their counselors to counsel you. You have to jump through the hoops in order to get back on track. And if you disobey the pastor, and the only way you can disobey the pastor is by letting the group down. He uses group control over you. It's a warped way of thinking. I went through the school of hard knocks, and so part of this thing is that we were taught in this group how to prophesy, and I rebelled against this stuff and got in the Inquisition board and had to go jump through the hoops, like I just said. But this is how we learn how to prophecy. Can I tell you a little secret how some of these people do it? I look at you. I look at the clothes you're wearing. Do you have a Rolex? What type of jewelry? Do you have designer clothes or J.C. Penney clothes? What do you have? Everybody has suffered trauma or drama, okay? Everybody wants a new day. So you look around the room. You look at them, you look around the room, and any item that catches your eye, like a picture of Jesus holding out his hand in the back of the room, you go, "Oh, the Lord, I see the Lord out reaching for you, son and daughter. You've traveled a hard road." You look at their shoes are well worn and scuffed up. You travel a hard road, and you've been through a lot. And the Lord says he's reaching for you to pull you out of there, and everything's going to be wonderful and groovy, baby. Thus saith the prophet, That's how we learned. I wouldn't do this. I'll say something I shouldn't say. I wouldn't do this garbage. If they were wealthy, you say, "Oh, God is reaching out for you. You've done such wonderful things, and you're searching for God, and you want a new direction in your life." Well, who doesn't? And so the person goes away, and he's wealthy. Wow. And then you're taught in this particular group to cater to those who are the biggest financial donors in your church, to keep them giving. It was a warped way of being. It was a wake-up call, and that is why I want to speak out against this stuff and warn people of it, because what I went through myself. I don't want anyone else going through it. And then I see it's raised its ugly head again. I thought it died out, and I was sure fooled, and it's back on track. The shepherding discipleship stuff is back on track under a new guise. They're prophesying the same way. If you were not ever involved in it and ever trained in it, you would never know how to recognize it. You think, oh, wow. I remember a person coming up to prophesy for somebody, a friend of mine, and the coat rack is in the back and their coat hangers. So this person goes, I see you as a coat hanger. Everybody loves to hang their coat on you. So my friend was trying to be polite. Oh yeah, yeah, whatever. Got back down and had to sit there and try not to laugh. Didn't want to hurt the person's feelings, but how off base can you be? So that's not prophecy. But anyway, that's what kind of stuff that happened in ancient Judah. People brought in the occult into the temple worship. They brought it in their synagogues. And they mixed the pagan worship and service into the temple. In fact, the church of Pergamum that's mentioned in the Bible in the I think it's the city of Pergamum, they uncovered a synagogue, and in the synagogue, a Jewish synagogue, not supposed to have any of the stuff in it. They found all kinds of icons in there, but they had the one most telling one was an altar for Caesar or Zeus or whatever, whoever wanted to be whatever. And so it was basically Caesar. And so I thought that was peculiar. The example of archaeology proves that the Jewish people were bringing the world in there to be accepted by the world. We're going to bring the world into the church, and they brought in the Caesar worship. And the reason for Caesar worship was Caesar was, or all the gods wanted him to be Caesar, and so you had to worship him as a god. So everything's under subservient of the state. That's the Roman way. Okay. And so everything's mixed together as long as you worship the state. You can worship however and be tolerant however you want to please. But if you have a religion that says Jesus Christ is the only way, the truth, and the life, there's no king but the Lord Jesus Christ, then you are an enemy of the state and must be expunged and killed because you're not mixing in paganism with the world. And the church today has mixed paganism into the church. Okay. And mixing the world system into the church. And so what happens is like what happened in Daniel's day when you forsake God. Daniel woke up, and then the people of God woke up. Even though Daniel was faithful and his friends were faithful in serving God, you can call them a remnant. They woke up in a foreign land. And we are doing the same thing in America. What once was America is slowly vanishing away. And some mornings I turn on the news or I walk outside, and I think I'm living in a foreign land. I almost feel like I'm living in almost exile now. 58% of the people don't have any moral standards, even in the church. It's quite telling. So Daniel and his friends were in this new land that they were taken to, were given new names to be part of the world system, and made eunuchs so they could not procreate. Didn't realize that Daniel and his friends, and Meshach, Abednego, and Mishael, were made eunuchs. They don't want you to spread the gospel because that's offensive to other religions. You have to be subservient to the state. If you're subservient to the state and tolerant, then you can practice your faith. But if you say Jesus Christ is the only way, the truth, and the life, and quote Jesus, that's hate speech. And it must be silenced. Nothing has changed. We'll see why in a minute as we go through the book of Daniel. It's happening again. So the church is facing spiritual eunuchhood. I call it being made a eunuch, I should say. The church is facing a spirit eunuchhood. The world wants to make the church a eunuch. Can't procreate. You can't share the gospel. But however, rioting is okay, and burning down your city is perfectly okay. Who cares about wearing masks during a riot or social distancing? But dare meet in a church, not sitting 6 feet apart. Let's close you down in some states. Some states are opening up now. They're seeing the light. But I'm just telling you, sometimes you feel like you're in a foreign country. King Nebuchadnezzar had a dream in Daniel chapter 2, a fearsome statue made of 5 substances: gold, silver, bronze, iron, and clay. They representing the foundations for how the world system emerged, leading to the last days that has this foundation is built upon the metals and the elements of the statue of what we call the New World Order. And so that's what I want to talk about here, because we're going to go back and go to Daniel chapter 7. These are the things we saw. So Daniel chapter 7, last week, I looked at Daniel's dream of 4 beasts and 10 horns and a little horn that arose. The 4 beasts correlates to the 5 elements of Nebuchadnezzar's statue. And again, we're going to give you a lesson on Bible numbers. There are 5 substances, elements that the statue is made of, and there's 5 things being portrayed in Daniel's dream here, dream of the 4 beasts coming out of the earth and the little horn, okay, and the 10 horns. I'll get all of that in a minute. So the Bible numbers have meanings, with the pictograph being the root. So the golden head is the first beast. The idea is world domination ruled by a single ruler with its ruling elites. And the Hebrew numeric number for number 1, the first beast, number 1, is a pictograph of a bull's head, meaning a strong leader. So Nebuchadnezzar thought he was a royal bloodline leader, or through his progeny would come a royal bloodline leader destined to rule the world. That's why he called his grandson or his son Belshazzar, meaning the prince of Baal, or prince of Bel. Okay, the dragon. Kid you not. If you understand how to read Bible prophecy, look at everything. Details, look at details. Look at the symbols. Look at the number meanings. Unlocks a lot. Just right there in the golden-headed dream and the first beast, we see the Babylonian Empire bringing this idea of one world government, as we call it, into the world, ruled by one world leader through a royal bloodline. Maybe someday I can talk to Gary Wayne about the royal bloodline. I really would like to get him online and talk to him about the royal bloodline. The silver is the second beast of the statue, is the second beast. This represents the Medes and Persians who built off the golden-headed dream of one world rule by building a silver redemptive way. In other words, it's a new empathy, it's a new tolerance as the means to dominate and control people, to bring them into the house of one world government. That's the idea. In other words, you talk about tolerance and redemption, and for the greater good of humanity, bring all people together as long as you serve the state, the golden-headed dream. Everything's okay. Now, the number 2 in biblical numerology is a picture of a house. And the root meaning means division that's in a house. That's why people say number 2 means division. It means more than that. It means a house that basically it's God seeing which house do you live in? Do you live in God's household or the world's household? Which house do you belong into? That's the idea of that. So yeah, the Medes and the Persians, the number 2 element, and the second beast seeking to dominate and control people to make them all into the house of a new world order. Bronze is the third element. I mean, the bronze is the third element and the third beast, and it represents Greece under Alexander the Great, who moved like a leopard to swiftly conquer the world and be that one world ruler that seeks swiftly to move all people into a form of a one world universal thought, one world universal language, and basically Hellenize the world. That was his idea. Everybody will, it lays the foundation of laying the wisdom for this, as well as laying the foundation of law and order, so that through Hellenizing, making everybody think the same, look the same, smell the same, basically, I'm just paraphrasing for time's sake, you will be brought into the house for the one world ruler. And number 3 in the Hebrew language is the picture of a leg. It means to travel, to move. It's a mode of transportation to bring into unity. Everyone likes to simplify it and say it just means unity. But number 3 actually means moving towards unity, wholeness, and soundness. So Greece, so the third beast and the bronze representing Greece of Alexander the Great moves swiftly. See how it correlates to the number 3 movement into a universal thought for idea of Greek perfection. The idea of Greek perfection is also brought out in Plato's Republic. You have a benevolent tyrant king, a ruling elite, the silver, to rule the masses with the bronze, of everybody being one. And if you're not, they'll execute justice on you. Fourth kingdom was the iron kingdom, the legs of iron and clay, iron, and okay, I'll just say that. It represents Rome. That's the fourth beast is a conglomeration of that, with its brutality and loyalty to the state. Like I said earlier, Caesar was favored by the gods and thus could be worshipped as one, and this is state worship, the worship of the state. If you really want to understand kind of the concept of what Rome was, why it was so terrible, you could rightly say it's a form of mix of fascism and communism, where it's where a lot of deal making was, and there's another political ideology in there too. Oh yeah, it's the idea of Greece. I forgot the idea of a republic ruled by a tyrant king. Okay, I mean the whole idea was the iron will crush you if you don't worship the state. That's the idea, just in a nutshell. It was a very brutal kingdom. Under Rome, slavery really spread. Slavery was, from what I can understand, was founded in the land of Shinar in Nimrod's day, where he conquered neighboring city-states, enslaved the people to build the temples and build the cities and the walls, so forth, etc. And so that's where slavery came from. So anyway, so it was very brutal. Number 4 in the biblical numbers means an entryway or pathway or a mode of life. It also means the creative works of God, man, or the devil, creative works as an entryway in there. And so you have the fourth beast of Daniel coming forth, and it's telling me this is a new entryway. Something new is happening here. And it's talking, all of a sudden you talk about 10 horns and another little horn arising up, speaking blasphemy, a new entryway for something else coming down the pike. Going back to the statues of Daniel, where all these will be brought together. And then you have the clay, the iron feet and mixed with clay in the statue. The clay is nations made up of races and people. Clay is the 5th element. So number 5, everyone says, oh, that's just that's a number for grace. Sorry, it's a pictograph of a guy standing there like this saying, behold, I'm foretelling you something. Warning, don't go past go. You don't collect $200. Stop. Listen. I'm going to bring you a revelation of grace or mercy or judgment or justice. Okay? That's what the basic root meaning means. Behold, pay attention, a revelation of grace or judgment, mercy or justice. That's what the word means when you see the number 5. And so number 5 is a revelation, since clay means nations made up of all races of people. This message is for all mankind for a future date, according to the context. Numbers do have importance in the Bible if you know how to read them. And things are not put there as an accident. So let's continue Daniel chapter 7, verse 15. As for me, Daniel, my spirit within me was anxious, and the visions of my head alarmed me. Daniel 7:16. I approached one of those who stood there and asked the truth concerning all this. So he told me and made known to me the interpretation of the things. These 4 great beasts are 4 kings who shall arise out of the earth. But the saints of the Most High shall receive the kingdom, possess the kingdom forever and ever and ever and ever. Okay, I'm going to stop right there and break this down. So he approached one of those who stood there and asked him the truth concerning this. So he told and made known to me the interpretation of all things. So basically, Daniel was standing and nearby was an angel and asked him. And so the angel was standing there for a reason to tell Daniel what was coming down the pike here. And he said, the four great beasts are four kings who shall arise out of the earth. It goes back to Daniel's statue, like I just said. Lays the foundation for the thought of the new world order. We have a tendency in Bible prophecy and to think that we have a headless statue and only we have our iron feet right now and nothing else. You have a head. All of them are connected. All of them have not ceased to be. They're all about laying a foundation so the bloodline, so-called one world ruler, can emerge and just come on the scene, and everything, the foundation is laid, and a willing populace to willingly accept him. A plan's laid out for this to happen and implement it in full by people who hold to this view and who know what they're doing. The golden-headed dream is very much alive. It gives its nourishment to the silver ideology of bringing everybody into one group, one house, one redemption. And we're doing this for your peace and your safety. And we want you to become bronze, have a one universal mindset. The world will be one of you, all look alike, smell alike, and think alike. No reasoning allowed. You have to, for any reason, we're going to use a law to crush you. You have to be good citizens and global citizens of the world. Because we have laws and decrees that will enforce this justice upon you for your own good. This leads to the iron, where you have to be ruled by the state. The state is the enforcer. You have to have a foundation of iron in order for it to walk. All of them are connected. All of them are in process today. The four beasts are in process today. I said this last week. The four beasts of Revelation are seen in Revelation chapter 13 as one composite beast mixed together with all the body parts. In the occult world, it's all about mixing and bringing synthesis. In other words, making a synthetic world. Alice Bailey wrote that she wanted to make synthetic rapport, synthetic love, synthetic justice, because the world and God's world that God created basically has been corrupted. So we got to make it synthesized. We have to make it synthetic. So you have synthetic. Synthetic means fake. I'm just going to tell you. A new substance better than the original. That's the idea. And so that comes out of the Iron Kingdom. So, okay, and the horns on the beast and the head and all that on the book of Revelation beast. The book of Revelation talks about when the beast is all together. Here, Daniel laying the foundation of the same beast, the foundations of how this will come about. In the end times that John the Revelator saw in the book of Revelation, the beast is all together. It's all mixed together. It's synthesized. So the occult world teaches how to synthesize and mix all this stuff together to make a brave new world. And that's what these people really honestly believe. They're doing it for your good and safety and can get along, but they don't understand that when they become the racists and the bigots trying to implement this new world order because they are insane, basically. And true prophets of God will get in trouble with them every time because you got to confront these people. So let's tell it like it is. So these are the four kings who shall arise out of the earth. Traditional Bible scholarship talks about the four empires that indeed rose, as history proves, through Daniel's second chapter concerning the statue of Nebuchadnezzar's dream. The head, Babylon, silver, Media, Persia, bronze, Greece, iron, Rome. Okay, that's standard interpretation. The four empires that arose out of history, who shall arise out of the earth. So don't really have much to add to there on that. Some people I've heard also said this could be an allusion to the four fallen angels trapped underneath the Euphrates. It very well may be that's spoken about in the book of Revelation in the last chapters there. Revelation talk about these 4 fallen angels, the head ones, the last 4 to be released out of the abyss for the end, who I think I know who they are. In the Mesopotamian lore would be Ninharsag, Enlil, Enki, and Shamash, or Shamash, or Utu, the sun deity. And that actually matches the storyline too. And so those 4 will be let out for a little chaos making. And when they are released, all kinds of things happen. So just think about that. So I don't know. I just stick with kind of the traditional view that these represent the 4 empires. But I know enough about reading the Bible and God's intelligence to know that he could also, there's dual meanings in the scripture. There are dual and triple meanings, usually triple meanings that verify the truth. So this could also mean the 4 fallen angels that are in the Euphrates that will be released at the end time, because this refers to the end times. So you can go both ways, because the foundation is laid for those entities to be released to create the chaos on earth and the last battle between good and evil. Moral absolutes against gods. Moral absolutes against the world. No absolutes. You're your own God. You make your own rules. You make your own standards. You're your boss. You can run the world better than God can. That attitude. It'll be in conflict. And also judgment, like it was against the gods of Egypt. Judgment against the fallen watchers over this world system. Okay, where am I at? But the saints of the Most High shall receive a kingdom, possess the kingdom forever and ever. Said a mouthful in a few sentences, and people just read that and they don't understand stuff. But I don't know, maybe it's because of my personal experience that I had happen. I look at this and I understand that when you have a message from the Lord, every word has paragraphs and tons of meaning that connect to other parts of the Bible. By looking at that, you can never tell, but it does. We'll see in a minute. In fact, Revelation chapter 21 and 22 connects to this very same event. It's when the new heavens and earth are made, where righteousness dwells. There's no more sin, sickness, or whatever. There's no more rebellion. Everything is made perfect and whole according to, in God's timing. Before the perfect can come, you got to first remove the dross. As I wrote in my book, A Land Unknown, Hell's Dominion. You have to remove the dross. God is a God of reason and justice. He allows free moral will, yet he wants people to freely accept him or they can freely reject him. The world system, the iron, wants to dominate you, allow you no reason. Christianity always allowed reason. If you don't believe me and want to be a pig-headed, bone-headed idiot, you can have that right. And you can tell me that Christians are trying to push their moral values on you. Well, if we were, then how come you guys have all the power and you're crushing us? Think about it. You're living a lie. Now, I will say there are Christian dominionists, there's Christian dominators out there, but they're few and they're far between. Those people have given Bible prophecy and the Bible a bad rap. It's caused by occult infiltrators into the church and bringing that ideology in there. This is brought out in Revelation chapter 1 with the chapter 2, with the Ephesus church, the Ephesus nitpickers. And that's what the whole world judges all Christians by a few people who are really the experts, the dominating crushers, and oh boy, it's a mess. A mess with those people. But anyway, I digress. Let's continue. On Daniel here. Where am I at? Okay. So Revelation's talking about a new heaven and earth. Everything is made perfect. So the saints of the Most High will receive the kingdom, possess the kingdom forever and ever. So this is talking about a specific time event that's from Daniel's day that'll end at a certain point in time when everything is made new. No more sin, no more sickness, no more death. And all people have learned objective lessons of what evil is and what disobeying God does. We are reaping the whirlwind because of it. Daniel chapter 7, verse 19. And then I desired to know the truth about the fourth beast, which was different than all the rest, exceedingly terrifying, with its teeth of iron, claws of bronze, which devoured and broke in pieces and stamped what was left with its feet. And about the 10 horns on its head, the other horn that came up before it, the 3 of them fell. That horn that had the eyes and mouth that spoke great things, and that seemed greater than its companions. And as I looked, this horn made war with the saints and prevailed over them. I've got to break this down. I don't have time. I might have to continue this on another time. I might not even get through this chapter because there's too much stuff here. So if you want to know the truth about the fourth beast, which is different from the rest, terrifying, and teeth of iron and claws of bronze. Okay. This is interesting. First, you have the iron. That's Rome. It likes to devour nations and make every nation support the state. It was all about the Roman state. All about. And if you disobeyed the state, you were crushed. And then the Rome also went to war against God's people, as history has proved. They crucified and tried to wipe out Christians in droves. The world's trying to do that today because they wouldn't conform or bow their knee and recognize that that Caesar was God's approved man to rule the world. For Christians at that time and era would recognize that Caesar was the ultimate, that all the gods put in power, and that he was a god, basically would prove that they worshiping the Antichrist. Just a little food for thought, whom we call the Antichrist nowadays. Back then, in man of sin, excuse me. Cough there. Okay. And the 10 horns which are on its head and the other horn. The 10 horns traditionally are taught, I'm going to go through this real briefly, are a 10-nation confederacy that arises out of the ancient Roman Empire. That has happened. I don't have time to go into it. Maybe next week in a review, I'll go over that a little more. So many Bible prophecy teachers talk about this, but the 10 horns represent 10 nations. Also, since there are dual layers of meaning in the Bible, this could also represent the 10 economic free trade zones that was carved out of the world in the 1980s or late 1980s. It was headline news and it shocked me. We have 10 economic trade zones, free trade zones. And it was all about free trade. It wasn't really, Donald Trump got out of that mess. And I don't know if it was George Bush or Herbert Bush. I can't remember which Bush it was, or somebody before that got us into this mess. So just or the Clintons did. I can't remember. They probably all did. So it's just one of those things, this free trade zone stuff. So you have 10, keep appearing. What does the number 10 mean in the Bible? You'll love this one. 10, has Bible themes, and where the themes in the Bible teach you the definitions of number 10. 10 is, I think, Yod in the Hebrew alphabet. And basically, it is talking about like the 10 Commandments. 10 Commandments. It's basically how to live responsible before God and man. That's what the 10 root would mean. How to live responsible, it has related to the 10 Commandments. There's some other things there. For the sake of time, I'm just going to stick with this thing. So, the 10 kingdoms to make the world responsible to what? To the iron, to the bronze, to the silver, to the golden-headed dream of one world rule. There you got it. See how the numbers fit? I wish I might someday get, maybe next week, I'll go a little in-depth meaning of the number 10. There's more meanings to the number 10, but I'm just giving you the root meaning, which fits here pretty good. And to be responsible of being good global citizens. We're hearing that today. 1992 Rio conference, where we got the UN Agenda 21, was all about becoming good UN global citizens with a UN oversight. Hey, stuff's real, folks. Then I looked at this horn that came up out of the other horns, made war with the saints and prevailed over them. In the Bible, we see this transpiring when John the Revelator wrote in the book of 1 John or 2 John, I can't remember, that the Antichrist system is already at work in the world. The Antichrist system was already working in the world back then. This is a system. An Antichrist system is a system that lays a foundation for the clay to be dominated by the iron will of oversight. I'm just paraphrasing. Under the bronze of universalism, globalism, under the guise of, we're going to bring you into the house, this silver house of silver and redemption and wonder and beauty. If we all think, oh, it'll be wonderful. Under a one world ruler by a governing elite, which would be the neck. Just food for thought. Until the Ancient of Days came and judgment was given for the saints of the Most High, and the time came when the saints possessed the kingdom. That's verse 22. Verse 23 goes, thus he said, as for the fourth beast, there shall be a fourth kingdom on earth, which shall be different from all the kingdoms, which shall devour the whole earth and trample it down and break it to pieces. This is talking about the Roman Empire and its legacy. As for the 10 horns, out of this kingdom 10 kings shall arise, and another shall arise after them. He shall be different from the former ones and shall put down 3 kings. This, like I said, I stick with the Bible commentaries on this and just throw in a few other things for food for thought. But again, the 10 kingdoms that arise, who help lay the foundation for this, and another shall arise after them, and he shall be different from the former one. So we have the world divided into economic trade zones. We have the European Union made up of 10 member states. You have different things that all fit from what the people call the fourth revised Roman Empire, because it's the fourth kingdom. It's the iron kingdom. So that's why they say it's the revised Roman Empire. It's basically one world dominion, bringing everybody into one thought mindset of the bronze, like I'm talking about, instead of Greek, everybody spoke Latin in Rome, all this. But then you have the silver, bringing everybody into the house of a one world ruler. That's the whole concept there. You can't divide the statue and say the head's done away with, to throw it away, the torso's done away with, the ancient Persia's done away, and the bottom, the stomach, and the thighs are done away with. How people digest, how can they digest becoming good global citizens and be Hellenized or whatever into this new world idea? That's done away. We just have the iron, we just have the feet. No, it's all one combined thing. Never forget that. And this king that arises after them, he'll be different from the former ones and shall put down 3 kings. Bible scholars and everything are still in debate about what that means, and I will honestly tell you, I have no clue. He'll put down 3 kings. So evidently sometime or what other, there'll be 3 of the kings that go down. They'll be put down. I do not understand full ramifications. I'll go over this a little bit. I'll just probably discuss what others have talked about in this, because I really don't know. I know some people may know more than I do on that. I'm just telling you. If I don't know something, I will tell you. We're at chapter 7, verse 25. He will speak words against the Most High. He shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and shall think to change the times and the law, and they shall be given into his hands for a time, times a half a time. Very important. So first, he's going to wear out the saints. So there's an Antichrist system that was in the world back then. Way back in Nebuchadnezzar's day, probably since the fall of the Garden of Eden. Okay? The Antichrist system came into the world to wear out the saints of God. We see that before Genesis chapter 6. A hallmark of the days of Noah is when dynamic men of God who upheld the truth and the word of God, they get older or they die out. And there's nobody to replace them. At one time, I've seen Leonard Ravenhill. I've seen some of these other people I grew up in the days, when Derek Prince was around. And when they passed away, there were people by the dozens who took their place. Now there's nobody being raised up to take their place. Do you get the picture? And so this principle is there. So he wears out the saints. So there's only a remnant left, like Noah. And so that only 8 souls were saved, okay, that type of thing. There's going to come time in the days of Noah where it's just going to be a remnant. There's a war is coming, going to wear out the saints of the Most High. How does he wear them out? By demoralizing you. I'll talk more about that next time, about this demoralization. So they wear you out by demoralizing you. The Bible isn't true. You can't trust it, the liberal scholars say. All this, there's a bunch of hypocrites in the church. There's wear you out, 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 wear you out. Trials and tribulations. If you don't conform, you won't be able to be accepted. They will do anything to wear you out. If you don't comply with their will and identify yourself with a gold star, they will wear you out. They just want to wear you out. History has proven this over and over and over again. How the Antichrist system in Nazi Germany wore out true Christians as well as the Jewish people by making them wear a gold star to identify them, and a different patch for sincere Christians and symbols and stuff. Took you off to the gas chamber and got rid of you. They want to wear out the saints. In other words, they want to make war against the saints. They do so by how the Antichrist system works now, as well as the Antichrist will do so in the future. He will change the times and the law. In other words, he's going to redefine what morality is. The Antichrist system defines morality as anything goes. You're your own moral standard of right and wrong. Live free, be happy. There's no moral absolutes. Your truth is your truth, and my truth is my truth. My truth supersedes your truth, and I'll kill you if you disagree with me, you evil Christian. So that's the new morality here. Now, I want to challenge anybody who thinks that your truth is my truth, and and if it's not my truth and all that, your truth is your truth, my truth is my truth, and there's no moral standards, there's no moral absolutes. I will tell you there are absolutes, and I can prove it to you. I can tell you that moral truth does exist really good. I'll give you 2 examples. I'll challenge you. Climb in an airplane, get to the middle of the Pacific Ocean, fly at 15,000 feet, jump butt naked out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. I'll guarantee you when you hit the water, you'll be absolutely dead. There's absolute truth when you think stupid. Stupid does what stupid says. Okay? Another moral absolute truth there is, an absolute to prove morality is absolute, is that you're going to die one day. Don't fool yourself. You're going to die. Just think about that. Let that sink in. We're all flying over the Pacific Ocean, and some people determined to jump out without butt naked, no hope in the world, thinking that somehow by osmosis everything will work out, or they'll go into oblivion and nothingness. Sorry, that's further from the truth. There are absolute truths and standards. How you lived your life, how you demean other people and stuff like that determine something about your fate in the afterlife. Just think about it. Well, I don't like to think the afterlife, and I don't think of heaven, I don't think of hell and all that stuff, or I don't think these things are real, they're just there to control people and all that stuff. Well, what are you doing? See, absolutes do exist. You're trying to control everybody, and you're mirroring your crime on me. Shut up, you moron. I mean, I tried to talk with these people, and you can't reason with them. But God, only one that can is the Lord. So I turn them over to the Lord and let the Lord reason with the morons. And more often than not, they get smart and come to Jesus, and they're no longer morons. Thinking that they have it all down. They wake up and realize that anything goes lifestyle produces high suicide rates. It produces death. Supporting gender flipping lifestyle is not really good for the person that's practicing it. They need their hearts healed from the trauma and the abuse they suffered, because it's been proven. I worked with sex offenders. Sex offenders make that type of community a reality. We can't talk about it. When I was in the field and I worked in the court systems with the sex offenders, And the damage they did to the victims was incredible. And a lot of victims got the Stockholm Syndrome, sympathized with their victims, and became gender fluid. Now, you would too if you were traumatized as a little kid with urine and feces smeared all over you and sexually assaulted time and again, or cuddled and then threatened to the point of death if you told anybody. Or maybe you don't remember the abuse as an infant, but you have the police reports that show you that there was an infant. Now the picture of this sex offender who thinks he's a woman, but he wears a beard and molests children, and came from that environment, the court document that he was messed with as an infant. So I'm just telling you, it's proven fact. Not everybody who's molested becomes that way. It's a certain type of molestation that causes it. If you're in the field, you know what I'm talking about. If you're not, you don't know what I'm talking about. There's a certain violent type of assault that snaps the mind to accept that. There's also another form. It's severe traumatic control abuse from like a Jezebel spirit parent can do it too, snap you. Or it can snap you as well as being abandoned and neglected from your family. Though you might have a great family, they were distant. And then but there was some abuse that always took place somewhere in the family line, and you have to look for it. You usually will find it with victims. So they need help. They need mercy. They need grace. They need to find themselves. They don't need our condemnation. They need help. I mean, that's all I'm saying. If they don't, they're headed for a very bad place. But that choice is them, because God reasoned with people, and you make your bed, you lie in it, right? That's a moral truth. You just can't keep doing stupid things and expect to get off scot-free. It just don't work. It may work for a time, but there's a payback. Everyone will agree, what comes around goes around, right? What one sows is what one reaps. Sometimes it comes back at you, right? So there are absolutes. Daniel 7:26 through 28. I'll probably go into this later because I'm running a little late right now, but Daniel chapter 7, verse 26. But the court shall sit in judgment, and his dominion shall be taken away to be consumed and destroyed in the end. Okay, we'll stop right there. The court shall sit in judgment, or the heavenly, I'm going to paraphrase this, the heavenly council will sit in judgment, and the horns, dominion shall be taken away to be consumed and destroyed to the end. Okay? This is the heavenly council thing that's found in the Bible, wherein God sat down with the angels and said, I've determined to get rid of Ahab. What do you guys think was the best way to do it? See, God includes his angels of renown and people of renown, with part of his plan. Now, what do you think? Give me your feedback. So, he's interested to reason, try to find out the best. He already knows the best course, but he likes to involve himself in this. Ahab's a bad dude. He's not going to repent. He's never going to change. His days are numbered. His number's coming up. What's the best way to make an example of him? And so one angel came up and said, I'll be a lying spirit to all his prophets, all 400 of his prophets of Baal and Azarah that he has left. They're going to deceive him. So one angel came and deceived all those folks to deceive Ahab to go out and get killed. Okay, I'm just saying that is a court. That is a heavenly council room. It is not a judge, jury, and executioner type thing. It is a heavenly council where you discuss God. True prophets of God and true intercessors of God and people who spend time with the Lord know about the heavenly council. I call it the heavenly council room. Speaks about it in Psalms 82. It talks about it in Psalms 81, I think, in those two Psalms. And it talks about the heavenly council. And it's where you intercede on behalf of another person or a group of people. And you listen to God and you get his take on it and his words, what to say, how to do it, what he wants done, and you become part of that. That's all that is. And here it talks about the court, the heavenly council will sit in judgment, and he's going to dispatch the angels to go to war here, and to take away the dominion of the Antichrist. He'll be destroyed in the lake of fire, as Revelations, the last chapter 20, talks about. The Antichrist and the devil and all of them will be cast in the lake of fire at a future date and time. And the kingdom, in verse 27 and 28, and the kingdom, dominion, and the greatness of the kingdoms under the whole heaven shall be given to the people of the saints of the Most High. Their kingdom shall be an everlasting kingdom, and all dominions shall serve and obey him. It's talking about Jesus setting up the millennial reign on earth, finalized in the last chapters of Revelation when the New Jerusalem and heaven join together. And there's no more sickness, no more death, no more tears, no more sin. Evil has been taken away with, cast in the lake of fire. So you can see a true land unknown that's best forgotten but never left to be unseen as an example of what sin and rebellion does. Not a place to go, oh, those poor people. No, you die and you get everything explained to you. You understand they made their bed, and you understand why, with understanding that it's so complete that you won't even worry about people who didn't make it. I might sound cruel. I'm just trying to ease your mind a little bit. You have a fuller understanding of human sin nature after you die. When you're a Christian, it'll be explained to you. Your own probably will be shown to you in a way. And what God's mercy and grace does that changed you from that sin nature into his marvelous light, what that does, and you make a reasonable comparison and you stay tight with Jesus. You're not going to worry about those who don't make it. Trust me, you won't. Because everything is explained. And then Daniel chapter 7, verse 28, here's the end of the matter. As for me, Daniel, my thoughts greatly alarmed me. My color changed, but I kept the matter in my heart. Here's the end of the matter. As for me, Daniel, my thoughts greatly alarmed me, and my color changed, and I kept the matter in my heart. I kind of relate to this verse last Thursday night. This was last Thursday night. All the stuff that's going on. Here I am. I started doing some videos, and I was going to do it, and the COVID virus started. I was already studying Alice Bailey before that. I put those videos on my YouTube channel. Someone, Josh Peck, they're from his and stuff like that. They're from that show, and I have permission to put those on there, YouTube screeners. And you took Josh's channel off the air and my videos as well, but they're mine. I own the copyright. I own the electronic rights to them. So they're mine. So I posted those for you there uninterrupted. So you follow them. I talk about Alice Bailey, and then it led me right into the COVID virus because everything I read sounded eerily familiar of what I read. There's so much stuff there from Alice Bailey, Foster Bailey, H.P. Blavatsky, Crowley, so forth, etc., Michael Ford, other heavy-duty, heady-hitter occultists out there. And so knowing that, then I saw how the scenario plans, some of them that I was involved in my low-level scenario planning in my social work classes, and I did my practicum. I had to go to teacher certification classes and report what I said in a conference setting. Turn in your papers, and the professor says, oh, I'm going to use your works and claim credit for it. So for the world of academia, so we were just grunts doing the professor's work, compiling data for him. I mean, this is what you go through college to graduate. What can I say? So I noticed that they had these scenario plans, and I found one particularly, the 2010 Rockefeller report, scenario planning report. And then I saw the scenario plans. One was to use a pandemic to trigger something, but the pandemic happens only if one particular thing about global warming and inequality doesn't work. If you can't collapse the world's economic system and bring all into political alignment with a UN oversight, then you institute a pandemic called lockstep, to get everybody in lockstep. And if that doesn't work, you go to hack attack scenario where you create social upheaval to collapse the economy and get rid of the people who oppose you, like Vice President or former Vice President, now a nominee for the Democratic Party, Joe Biden says 15 to 10% of 15% of American people are bad people. That's about 50 million people, roughly about 60 million people voted for Trump. So I wonder who he's referring to. They will make war against the saints of the Most High, and anybody who disagrees with them, they want you dead. They are the noble elite who have a golden-headed dream. We want you to bring you into the house so you're all universally one global citizen under the enforcement of the iron will, so they can walk all over you, the clay, where the iron will of globalism walks lockstep over the nation states. And so that is going to be done away with. That kingdom is done away with, because in Daniel's statue dream, there's a big rock, and a little rock broke out of it, smashed the feet of the statue before it walked. And it says, at end of the matter, as for me, Daniel, my thoughts greatly alarmed me, my color changed. And so I'm going to go back to Thursday, when I'm thinking about all this stuff, preparing for this, thinking about all the scenario plannings I read that point to clearly what's going to be happening in the world, and we're watching it transpire right now. And I was greatly alarmed. I could not sleep. I did not sleep a lick. In fact, I was up all night. I know my color changed too. I was just overwhelmed with what the Lord was showing me, what's coming down, and having to come to terms with it, because I foresee the steps that are taken. I know the plan. I found it. It's easy. They're public domain. They're public documents. You can get them from the UN yourself and read them yourself. And they speak of great silver redemption for all humanity. This is the great thing for the UN of climate change, and we're going to enforce this upon everybody, and everybody will be wonderful if we do this, because we don't need God. We just need to do it ourselves. All this stuff is in there. It's amazing. Contact tracing. Oh my gosh. Now it's reality. It used to be just theory and a scenario plan. New cameras I'm seeing going up in the grocery stores that were all made to walk through. We're only a few stores you're allowed to go through this pandemic, and the ones that people I've talked to throughout the country noticed the new digital cameras that hang down, different ones. You look real closely, you'll see like 4 lenses, and it spins around and it tracks you as you go. Other things that hang down right in your face, so obvious, but you overlook them as you go through the door. They are going to cashless. They have things in grocery store hanging up there, and you punch in your phone how to pay for it through Venmo or PayPal, your groceries or credit card, and you take the scanner and you scan your items, and then you hit the checkout button, and it downloads from your phone and pays it off, and you put the checker back in the stand to be recharged. That's what's happening, at least around here at King Soopers and saw in different grocery stores. So these cashless societies coming, all this stuff there. This really, really overwhelmed me. And then to realize that 58% of the people, I think it's even higher, even in the church, do not believe in moral absolutes anymore. And everybody doing right in their own eyes, where that leads. And then you top it off with the riots and the race baiting that's going on, and traumatic stuff that's going on. And so, but I kept the matter in my heart. And yesterday I had to go I had to wait to the COVID virus to get some teeth looked at, because this wasn't available. Treatment wasn't available. But I had 2 teeth abscess and had antibiotics to help get me through it. I went to the dentist, and we're going to do 1 root canal, because I'm a fixed income. I don't have very much money at all. People think that you're rich or something, but you're not. And so I found a dentist to help look at it and can make payments. He looked at my tooth, says, "Oh boy, this one's sure bad." He got in there, boy was it. So it was 2 roots and 3 canals, and it, it was partially calcified, which brought forth a bacterial infection that went into my gum. So when we got down into the bone, pus and gas was released out of it. He told me. He said it was pretty bad. It was from some of the worst he's ever seen, and it's like, and what a relief to get that done. And the strange thing, I wasn't really in a lot of pain during this time because I was on antibiotics, and I didn't really feel the pain of the tooth because the antibiotics kept the pain down. I mean, I'm just telling you. So I wasn't even aware of how bad it was. And no, the tooth did not keep me up Thursday night. I didn't feel any pain Thursday night. And I don't feel any pain now. I mean, I feel like they got to pull a splinter out. And I got one more to do. It's a tooth that priorly had a root canal, but they did not go down into the root. So it calcified and built it. And since it sits next to the other tooth, the infection probably transferred to it. So I got to take care of that one too. It doesn't hurt either. Probably because the nerve's gone. That's why I don't feel that one, but it's abscessing. They can see it. I saw it in the x-ray. But anyway, so I was all upset about it. And then I went to the park that last night, and people were saying hi to me and stuff. I don't even know. And saw a sign out there. Someone put on a back porch saying, "Hang in there, friends." So I waved at the people. They waved back, and everybody was very friendly. And it's just, wow, thank you, Jesus. I needed that after a night like that, after assessing all this stuff, that seeing what's going to happen. I don't know how long it will be. I know that this is a planning stage for it. It sets the stage. It gets the technology. The whole purpose of this is set technologies in place. So at a future date, sooner or later, or sooner rather than later, it'll all kick in all at once, and your life will change overnight. This is just a dry run, in my opinion. If it's the big jump into the New World Order, it can definitely be that too. They want it to be, but it may not. They may have too many bugs in the operational systems. They got to get the 5G networks running. They have to get the cameras in place to track you. Have to get ready for the system for cashless society. It's not all there yet. And this is worldwide, not just the United States. Wow. Okay, let's see what we got here. Christ Speaker says, okay, if you have any questions, you can ask them. Shades of Gray. Jelly Bean, good morning. Man rules again. Yeah, unfortunately. Let's see. Groovy Bean. Okay, go down the list here. Yep, the church is basically becoming spiritually castrated. Omega Man, how you doing, brother? So glad to see you in my study of the book of Daniel. I look forward to coming back on Omega Man next week there. And I'll be back on, I think it's the 8th. And I'll be talking more about my experience, my afterlife experience, because people have asked me, why don't you, I know other things happen to you there, why don't you tell them about them? Well, I will, and other things too. I have no idea what I'm going to say yet until I say it. So it's just going to be a kind of an open mic thing, and I'm going to just tell you some things of how what I saw in the afterlife that was taken out of the book by editors for being too redundant, but it's still there. And a little bit is left in the book, and other things that were edited out by recommendation of 4 editors. Look at the book. I paid for several of them. And at that time, I had a job and I was working. I was able to afford stuff. And so editors are amazing to work. I like good editors. Some of the editors weren't too good, but I had to listen because I never wrote a book before and lop things out. So I'm going to talk about some of the things I lopped out. Sometimes I'm able to tell them when I'm doing public speaking or I'm doing a message somewhere. I'll go into great detail there. And so some of the stuff that I told to personal friends about the experience that I kept quiet that you don't normally hear, I'll be addressing. and some of the stuff on the end times too, on the Omega Man show. So be sure to tune in to Brother Shannon. Okay, Irish Slaves 51. So image results for biblical meaning of number 10 in the Bible is a symbol of perfection, harmony, and creation. It's also a number of integration, discipline, laws, and wholeness. That's right. I was emphasizing the laws to bring about wholeness, being responsible for God and man, the 10 Commandments. That's what I was talking about. I said there were more parts, and I'm glad you put those down. It was how to walk into wholeness and harmony and all that stuff, okay, and order and all that. Yeah, and that's the part I left out. I told you I'll probably tell you more, but I'm glad you put that in there because you're right. It says Mystery Babylon is the perverted version of the millennial reign. You got that right. Say they received a demonic. Yep, they received a demonic transfer. Oops. Sometimes we sow what we weep. Yep. Boy. Get humbled that way. Yep, you do. Let's see who else. Please pray to shut them down so I can agree with you. I'll do that before we sign off. And then you ask Christ Speaker, how about reincarnation? Okay, I will give you from research on the matter of reincarnation from two perspectives. When I was in the world running around, I thought maybe when I was a pagan running around the world system, I thought maybe possibly reincarnation could be true. But I found out, no, it's not. As a Christian, and I had reports from, and I'll give you some things since I've had an after-death experience, and some other people who had after-death experiences that I've talked to who have mentioned some of the same things, which I'll probably talk about on Omega Man. I'll share this with you right now to help answer your question about reincarnation. First and foremost is that some of the other people who I spoke to talk about was revealed to them that like before they were born or something, or before the entities, they're familiar spirits. They're familiar with your family, know all about your family line, and you may not be any aware of some great uncle twice removed from you. All of a sudden, that demonic entity has no house because they died. And for example, good case history is a person who died in World War II, and then his little kid got that spirit transferred to him from a Christian's perspective, and could say everything about this individual, what he looked like, identified photographs, names of people in the photographs. He's just a little kid. And everybody go, oh, that proves reincarnation. No, it proves that familiar spirits seek a dwelling place. That goes back to the Bible with Legion, and that possession thing. They want to enter in. Some people report it during their after-death experiences, having that revealed to that happen to them, how an evil spirit entered them, and when they came back, they got that thing taken care of and had no more thoughts. That thing never talked to them again. They never had any dreams or visions about it. You can visit historical places and have a transfer happen there. I know it's controversial, but you go to, since I lived on the East Coast, I grew up in Virginia, Northern Virginia, a lot of Civil War battlefields around. I loved going to the battlefields or kicking around to where the old Army camps were and metal detect. And so we went to, my favorite place to go was Antietam Battlefield, Sharpsburg, Maryland. And so I walk around there, and there's a place called Bloody Lane there. A lot of people died there. And as a little kid, when I first went there, and all of a sudden there was like, I started seeing images of it, what was happening there. And I got, one of those entities tried to attach itself to me then, and tried to lie to me that I was a Civil War soldier. And as a little kid, you entertain it. And then something the Lord showed me that I had to get rid of when I came back. No, there is no reincarnation, but you can go to a place where there's a lot of death and a lot of familiar spirits have been released, and there might be a few still wandering around there looking for somebody of a like mind to inhabit. So that explains reincarnation. It became an entire religion, a very works-oriented religion. I want you to think really hard about reincarnation. Just say you go through all the stages of the Hindu reincarnation thing, and you're the best person on earth. You're Gandhi. You are altruistic, whatever. And you die, then you come back, and all the karma, good karma you built up, suddenly gets erased because you come back as a serial killer, and now you have to go back to being a sea slug somewhere. And then you repeat that cycle again and again. Finally, you're ready, then you fall back into it, and then all of a sudden, through the law of thermodynamics, the entire universe explodes into nothingness. And so does reincarnation. That's why reincarnation is mostly about familiar spirits attaching themselves to people and lying to them to get you away from serving the Lord and believing lies based on pride. I know people don't like this. There's no humility in reincarnation at all. It's a head trip of works. That's my 2 cents worth on that. See, Jelly Bean question. With all taking place in the world, what's the biblical instruction on believers' response? That's an excellent question. I kind of addressed that on a video that I did for on Josh Peck there, and some of the live stream got scrambled because, like I said, our technologically equipment is being messed with these days. Our iPhones, computers, your Androids, your iPads. But anyway, I went through it. If you can watch that whole thing, near the middle of it kind of gets blurry, but I'm sorry about that. I couldn't do anything about it. And anyway, what is a Christian's biblical response to all this stuff? I said it before, forgiveness. Jesus said it. Forgive those who trespass against you. If you don't forgive your trespasses, neither will your Heavenly Father forgive you. In other words, release you from the bondage you are in to it. Like I said in that video, I was in elementary school. 6th grade came along and 6th grade ended. And so you become in middle school, 7th and 8th grade at that time period. And everybody was going to go to Westmoreland High School. And I thought I would go there. But since I lived on the wrong side of the street, so to speak, and everybody who lived on that side of the street were all suddenly bused by quota, through busing, by quota to go to Falls Church High School instead of Westmoreland. So I went to a predominantly school of people of a particular skin color. He did not like my skin color. I was never racist. I grew up in Virginia. I saw what racism did, and most people that I knew and my friends, we hated racists with a big time. We torment them. We made fun of them. We did everything we can. Nobody liked them. I'm talking about the KKK types and stuff. And they were few and far between. They were there. I'm not telling you they're not. They were there, but we identified them. We took care of them ourselves. I won't say how. But anyway, back then, a little younger, a little wilder. But anyway, in there, I was there, and I was in a gym class, and I came into gym outside and going to change your clothes, and and there were people of my skin color. Weren't very many of it. They all left, and I walked in there, and all of a sudden I was gathered around, and they took out these little clubs with the black power fist and began beating me up. I got out. At that time, you go out the door, and you have to go outside, then go up the main steps and into the front lobby of the school. And I ran a gauntlet of being beat the whole way, severely beaten. I got up the steps. I went into the steps. Saw the school administrators, one of one color and the other my color. They turned their backs and walked away from me. I was surrounded by people of a different color, and they're beating me up with the clubs on my head. And and this guy, if he's hearing, you're forgiven. I'm not going to say your name, but your last name starts with an L, and you have a sister whose name starts with an L. And you know who you are if you're listening to this, and I hope you do. because you're forgiven. And they took their black power fist, and Mr. L goes, "That honky has a hot head." Crack. I saw stars went to my feet. The administrators walked off. I saw the stairs. I do not know how I made it. God must have picked me up. I was seeing stars. I was walking up the stairs, being beaten on. "That guy's tough. That honky's tough. That cracker's tough. That's a tough honky." Poof, bam, poof, bam, boom, bam, boom, bam. So severely beaten. Had a concussion. I couldn't even tell my parents because I was in a daze. and I was so scared to go back to school. So at insult to injury, went upstairs to my class, and then Mr. L's sister was up there, stuck her hand down my pants and started playing with my lower extremity, making fun of me. And so publicly humiliated me. So I know what racism is like. And I want to say this, and since I know what it's like, and I was a victim of it, races come in all sizes and colors. Okay, I want to tell you the Christian response here. And so at that time, I could have became a big racist myself. But no, I understood that not all people of that color acted this way, because I grew up in a very diverse neighborhood, and some of my friends we grew up and played with were different colors, and all of a sudden now we're fighting and killing each other. It's like, what gives? After the racism period of the 60s and the 70s kind of died out, all these people that beat me up, we all of a sudden were friends. I could go downtown Georgetown to the projects, go into the crib, hang out with the homies, no problem. I guess I was a honky with a hard head. Who knows? I don't know. We got along splendidly. So I knew that people weren't, this not a reflection of all people like that. Also understood that people get a raw end of life, how they were raised in abusive homes. I understood all that, and I had a concept of that. And so never held a grudge against them. And so that's a Christian response. You have to really forgive and release them of the debt you think they owe you. Now we have what I call victim supremacists. Everybody's been victimized by life, but very few people actually become victim supremacists. In fact, victim supremacy is taught through the news media, the educational system, and by the poverty pimps in the projects that they made, always promising the people there all kinds of freebies, but never delivering. I could say some of the things my buddies used to tell me. "I'm still waiting for my acre and my mule. I haven't got my acre, I haven't got my mule yet." They all kinds of comments. We'd laugh about it, carry on about it. And so, so I can never see why people want to keep voting for donkeys and why people want to keep voting for rhinos. I just don't get it. A former slave-holding party, the Democratic Party, the Donkey Party, keeping people in projects down on the plantation, telling you who to vote for or to get a freebie, creates a victim supremacy mindset. No other way to put it. Well, since I was severely beaten, I could have had that same victim supremacist mindset. I didn't. Because I interacted with these people. Man, we had all kinds of people of all kinds of races. We had Italians, we had Greeks. Italians and Greeks didn't get along with each other. I mean, we had every color of the rainbow there. I mean, just colors of people there. Where I grew up. I go up to across the highway to Jefferson Village, or everybody lived together, and we lived fine. We got along great. We played with each other as kids, and I met friends and stuff, and we had fun together. Sort of like reminded me of the old 30s show, whatever it was called, Little Rascals. It was on the movie theater there. And you got along, didn't think anything about race. I always viewed people as human beings. They viewed me as a human being too. And all of a sudden you had the people want to stir up trouble, which are Marxist-Leninists. Let's call it like it is. Not progressives, not liberals, Marxist-Leninists, who want to create a race war by creating a victim supremacist mentality that you owe me reparations. You owe me. me to dominate you because you oppressed me. No, I didn't. I don't have nothing to do with your anybody's ancestors. Nothing, nothing, nothing. I was in this kid in the school of color getting the crap beat out of me to a concussion level, publicly humiliated, and I'm told that I gotta make reparations, and I'm an evil person because I'm this skin color. And you know what? That is the most racist comment I have ever heard. That's what victim supremacists do. They are the most extremist form of racist you've ever seen in your life. They want to dominate you. They want to crush you. Because they were crushed in their past, they want to put it on you to get revenge. You're tracking with me, okay? And that revenge, I have to ask you, if you're that mindset, did you like being dominated? Now, I know what it's like to walk on the street, brothers and sisters. I was one of these tough guys. My hair was long. I wore a certain garb that marked me. The police knew my name and my friends. We'd be walking around. They'd say, all right, Mr. Smith, Mr. Joe, and Mr. Melvin there. You know the routine. Hands up, bend the squad car, spread your legs, and they search you. And if you don't say sir and very nice to them, they could plant a bag of dope on you and bust you. I know what harassment's like. I was harassed. I was in a car with my friends. I was in the back seat. We had no marijuana in the car. We were actually looking to buy some at that time when I was running around as a heathen. And so there's none. If we had it, everybody would be smoked up. Everybody was stone sober. We're driving around trying to find, the elusive drug search, search. A friend who had a friend who knows an uncle who has a cousin who knows somebody who had a phone call the other day over here. You can find it. That type of thing. The police pulled us over. Oh, Mr. J, Mr. whatever. And they didn't like this guy because, he was one of us. He was driving. And so they get out of the car. Again, I was in the middle seat, and as I get out of the car, I saw a police officer put a bag of dope in the glove box. So they searched the car, found this dope, busted my friend who had nothing to do with it. I couldn't say anything. I get my head stoved in by the police if I did. So don't tell me just because I might have white privilege or something. You are nuts. You don't know what it's like to walk in another man's shoe, and by forgiveness, you learn to forgive because everybody's been through stuff. Everybody's been treated unfairly somehow, somewhere or another. So get off your victim supremacist mentality. I don't like to be dominated, and you don't like to be dominated. It's best that we forgive each other and move on and treat each other as human beings and hold no grudges. And now, they're taking a principle of forgiveness. The victim supremacists are making white people get on their knees and apologize, putting chains around their neck, making them apologize. But they never want to apologize to you for dominating you or the crimes they commit towards you. Never. Never. Yeah, they're bad police. I've been around enough. I also know that the vast majority of the police officers and law enforcement are halfway decent human beings. In fact, they are very decent, upright, but you get the bad apples. And I'm glad that they got the bad apples in Minneapolis, but that's not the reflection of the whole police department. The part of the scenario planning hack attack was create social disorder and a war against the police and the military in order to bring these vigilante groups to govern in their cities. We're hearing that in at least 5 cities in the United States. Those of you looking on in the world, it's not that bad in different parts of the country. But vast the majority of people do not live in these big cities, okay, where this stuff is happening. But during Marxist Leninism, they took over in Russia in 1917, 18, and 19. They took over the major city complexes, then moved into the suburbs, moved into the rural countries, and took them over and killed anybody who opposed them. That's how they think. They use this stuff to make victim supremacists, make the rich versus the poor, divide everybody, get them throwing at each other, then they can take over. And if you want social justice, then when they take over, they'll give you the jackboot and they will kill you. I have friends who escaped from Russia, from Poland, during the height of the Cold War, from communism. I know what I'm talking about, what they told me. So I'm just saying, You have victim supremacists. They're not victims. They are victim supremacists, and they want to dominate you and control you. And they're being controlled by Marxist, Leninist. You call them progressives? No. You call them poverty pimps? Yes. And they want to keep racism alive instead of treating people like a human being. So, if you want to get on your knee and ask for somebody's forgiveness for crimes you never committed, that person also who wants that needs to get on his knees before you and ask for your forgiveness for the crimes of his people against you. Every race needs to do that with each other. If you really want to get somewhere, and then actually forgive with fruit to your forgiveness and treat each other as a human being. That's the Christian response. Forgiveness, love, compassion, and fight the social injustice of victim supremacy, even at the point of dying, to prove that these people are not noble and as tolerant as they are. We have Jesus Christ, who came to earth and who was the one that was victimized by victim supremacy. 2. He wept in the garden, wanted his cup running to be taken from him, because he knew he was going to be betrayed, mocked, beaten, scourged. All the sins of the world put on by human beings, because according to the law, human beings have to transfer the sin onto the sin sacrifice. All that rage and wanting to be the dominant person. The Pharisees wanted to be the dominant person. It's always about dominance. One race wants to dominate another race. Everyone wants to dominate God. Everyone wants to dominate, to feel important significance. Then they die and it goes away and they're held responsible, go to hell. What can I say? But I'm just saying, so the victim supremacist attitude here is about domination. And the way to crack it is what Jesus did on the cross. Father, forgive them. They know not what they do. Lord, I can't wake them up. Wake them up at the point of my death if necessary. And that's what the cross is about, waking us up to how we treat each other, ask for forgiveness and mercy from God so we can learn to forgive others and treat each other as human beings. That's the Christian response. Okay. Okay. I wonder if they have already upgraded to 5 cities where they're writing. It's claimed they infect central nervous system to cause. Yeah, I heard that too about the 5G. Christ speaker, the 5G networks. I mean, during the pandemic here in Colorado, where I live in Fort Collins, we were locked down for a few weeks, couldn't really do too much. We could go to the grocery store, and I went to the store, and I noticed, well, there's a brand new 5G tower up. In fact, everywhere I look, I see brand new 5G towers went up during the lockdown. How interesting. So I'm thinking that the 5G is kicking in and messing up frequencies of our computer, our downloading, our streams, our everything, phones, iPads, tablets, whatever, are all being messed up by this. So yeah, and I think it's possible, and can't prove it. I mean, it's a debate, goes either way, depends, I guess, you listen to. But yeah, it could mess up your frequency in these cities. They use the 5G. Yeah, it's an interesting point, very interesting. Okay, remember the 6-Day War where they used the VTS to get the enemy lay down their guns? They heard a voice in their head saying it was God. Yeah, I heard about that. I have to do some research more on it and refresh my memory on it. But yeah, I remember they were talking about that. And yeah, they can do amazing things. They have a new weapon system out there, and it's a sound system that's been perfected for crowd control. If it gets out of hand, the law enforcement step back in stages, and they reach the stage, this thing comes out and boom, makes a sonic vibration, low pitch. You don't really hear it, but it'll knock you flat, knock you senseless. Then they come pick up you and arrest you. That's been perfected. They can use it. They haven't used it yet. Yeah, so voice to skull, yeah. If they have that type of system now where it can knock you flat, who knows what they have? I mean, I really don't know. But it could very well be. Yep, they can. Yes, it depends if they want to. People don't understand Marxist-Leninist because communism is Marxist-Leninism. Fascism is Marxist-Leninism just on a national level. Marxist-Leninism is by itself. Leninist Marxism is, I should let me rephrase that. Marxism is fascism, and Marxist-Leninism is communism. And one is the government just controls everything. That's basic, both of them. But the national type of fascism is, it's sort of a, how do I say it? It's national. It just involves a nation. Marxist-Leninism talks about taking over the world, setting a new world order. And they're both the same. They're both the same. They're no different. If you can believe anything Joseph Goebbels, a Nazi, talked about communism, he said there's no difference between the two. One believes in the national thing and racial superiority and all this junk. Communism believes in the superiority of the state to control everything, including whatever. So that's what we have. That's what we're actually up against. Suggest people look up cultural Marxism, look at some YouTubes. By Jordan Peterson is one. There's a couple others ones that talk about really good ones on cultural Marxism, how Marxism infiltrated our educational system. And there's a Yuri, I can't remember the defector name. They repost the video. I was surprised to see it again. I saw it back in 1983 or 84 when it came out on TV. I think it was PBS or something, because communism was, we were in the middle of the Cold War, and so near the end of the Cold War, but he was a KBG defector, and he talked about how cultural Marxism infiltrated. He was a KGB agent. He defected, and he says he couldn't believe how effective it was, how fast, how easy it was to operate in America. And basically back then, how they basically trained generations of young people into Marxist-Leninist ideology of victim supremacy in order to overthrow the system by demoralizing a population. And I won't get into all that, maybe another show, but I just thought that was interesting. So that's what you're actually fighting against, is that philosophy. And they use agents. When I was in social work, the phrase was agents of social change, organizing protests, all that stuff we learned in college. Like, oh my God, this has nothing to do with helping needy people. This is advocating a political solution in order that politicians gain more power. But nothing for the real hurting, downtrodden person. They're just used as cannon fodder for a political agenda. That's what I was learning. Of course, we read Saul Alinsky's works, all of them. You know, there are a lot more that he wrote on, and some of his minions that he hung with. We had to read their works too, and to get through college. And so this is Marxist-Leninism. They're not interested in helping the people. They use the downtrodden. They use anything, any social injustice, any crisis is a convenient way to spread Marxist-Leninism, to take over and bring down a society and take over the government. The plan in the KGB was to flip the United States into the Democratic Socialist United States of America. In other words, it would take the place of Russia, or be at least allied with Russia. But Russia, I mean, the old Soviet Union fell because Marxist-Leninism is a dead philosophy. It cannot work. It cannot control people. People are naturally rebellious. They have a sin nature, and they want to be free. So they overthrew that. And so the residual effect is that the United States was planned, and also Western Europe was planned, to become the new socialist republics. They worked really hard at doing that. We're reaping the fruit of it now. Most of the politicians in the Democratic Party and some rhinos came out of the protest movement of the 60s. They were very Marxist-Leninists. I grew up in D.C. area, 10 miles south of D.C. I know what I'm talking about. And so these were the Vietnam protesters. They were Marxist-Leninists. They came in to infiltrate and bring down the system. Now they wear suits and ties, and they're in the halls of Congress and our universities teaching garbage. So, yeah. Oh, wow. I better let you guys go. I went on a little too long, almost 2 hours. But anyway, it was a long one. But I will be back next week. I'll probably pick up a little bit in chapter 7 and go into chapter 8 of Daniel next week, just to try to catch up on some things, and also talk about the number 10 a little bit more and how that fits what Irish Slave talked about, and put those meanings to the definition of 10 in what I just said. You'll see something. You'll see this pattern. I didn't have time to get into that. I appreciate Irish there telling me about that. So also for those of you who are going to be watching these videos on the Daily Renegade 2.0, because this will be in the future posted there after I recorded it on the show, just for your benefit as well. Just know that this is a pre-recorded show. Okay, might be online. Hopefully I'll be online when it plays, and I can type the responses to you. Well, God bless you all. But right now you're watching it live. And if you're on YouTube, you're on YouTube. You'll watch it live on Facebook. It's streaming live right now. So I just thank you all, and glad you all came. I know that more viewers will come. It usually happens when the news gets out and viewership picks up. Let's see. Well done. Fell all the way down the rabbit hole. Blessings, man of God. Well, thank you. Appreciate that. Christ Speaker, you have a blessed day, and all you have joined Jelly Bean, all you avatars out there, Irish Slave, and Shannon Davis, Omega Man. You guys are all a blessing. It's just how it is, folks. You know, I just want to say, Jesus Christ could hang on a cross saying, Father, forgive them, when he could have called down legions of angels. If that happened to me with my victim supremacist mindset, I would have chose the angels to come down and wipe out the entire humanity. But my love is not that great, but God's love is greater than my love, and that he teaches me how to love through forgiveness, by what Jesus did on the cross. He did it. He enables me to do it too. And that is how our Christian response should be. And we'll also have to make a stand toward injustice as well, and not be a doormat. I will not be dominated. I'll allow my faith to be dominated by those who want to dominate and destroy me and bring me down. I read the plans. I know what they want to do. I know the book of Daniel says it very well. Thousands of years ago, make war against the saints of the Most High. In that book of Revelation, make war against the saints of the Most High and behead them. Okay, we'll go into more of that next week on the show. You guys be blessed in Jesus' name. Whoops. Oh, Irish Slave. Anybody else have anything? All right, you guys be blessed in Jesus' name.